33. Okay, welcome everyone. Here we are tonight. We're continuing the transmissions by Mynoo Maryel on the Age of Brilliance, and tonight it's part 33. Part 3, opening the portal of freedom. Release, restoration, resurgence with Mynoo Maryel. This is a transmission, not a talk. In this session, we will open the portal of freedom and activate the 12 pillars of regenerative and eternal freedom. In this transmission, you will receive release fear, guilt, and regret at the root, activate self-liberation and self-love, anchor unconditional acceptance, complete the cycle from data, information to knowledge, to wisdom, to knowing, and restore freedom as a lived state, not an idea. In the age of brilliance, freedom is not claimed, it is remembered. And here we are. Mynoo, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Here we go.
Okay. You will take care of the waiting room, Sarah, because my screen isn't quite set up for that.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Okay, I remember last week when we did it, the guidance was it was important to be done, and it was only a half an hour session. You were hosting it, and I only focused on two specific ones because I had to get to the airport and get on a flight. And I was not to miss the flight. And I took the flight, got to Mumbai, and Dubai closed from just after midnight that day. So, and so much has occurred in the world. So much has occurred in the world in this last week. I can't, uh, I can't, like get over myself. And I'm so grateful that we are actually working with this particular portal. We still haven't gone past the point where the portal is finally open. I expect we are going to do that today. Just a quick recap. We are actually talking about release, restoration, and resurgence of freedom. Anything that comes in the way. So, with been released, we are dissolving the architects of our own inner bondage. We are going to, with restoration, we are returning to our original inner authority. With resurgence, freedom becomes a lived creative power. I mean, this whole thing became so alive to me this last week. There I was in India. Nothing's happened, things are not happening here. So I'm in a free land, if you like, right? And I have not felt more um, trapped than I've ever done in my life, ever. Because my daughter-in-law and my two grandsons are in Dubai. We can't get them out. We couldn't get in. I mean, of course, lots of things have shifted now in the last couple of days. It's still a big nightmare to get anybody out or get anybody in, but I'm sure it's going to ease off this week. But it was interesting. This whole thing about releasing, dissolving the architecture of our inner bondage, you know? Everything that I have shared in this transmission up to this point in time, I worked through each and every element because what I got was if I cannot feel free where I am, in whatever state I'm in, there is no freedom to be had outside of me, you know? So I really went into clearly there is an architecture of inner bondage. So I'm trying to force myself to feel that, all is well when I'm actually, there's deep down, I'm not feeling all is well. The amazing thing was that Jill, my daughter-in-law, because my son had gone to Chiang Mai, because we are moving there in April, so he was just doing the final setting up and making sure everything is all in order. And he left that night on the 27th night. So literally 3 hours or 4 hours after he left is when Dubai closed. So she was by herself. Now she's got a head on her shoulders and, in a great space. And she messaged us saying, listen, please do not listen to anybody else other than those of us who are actually here on the ground, you know, because you will panic. And and I realized that she wasn't saying this to make us feel calm or comforted. She was actually really just sharing what was going on. The kids were super excited, and the best part was on the 26th, before we left, they had come, even though their home that they were living in on the 45th floor was due to end, the rental was due to end on the 28th. I strongly felt that we really needed to move out of there on the 26th. I had no explanation for it, so I paid some extra to the Airbnb and everybody moved. From the 45th floor, they were fine to go, they went along with it. Everybody moved from the 45th floor to the second floor of the building that I currently live in. Right? You can imagine when you've got all of this stuff going on, and let's say there's a fire alarm. You have to walk down 45 floors with two kids. That could be in the middle of the night or whenever. Not the easiest thing for just one person to handle. Now they're on the second floor. Like it was like we're so well looked after. And Jill kept saying, look, you've taught us. Ask the question, how much better can it get? I'm sitting here looking at the stream of water, the creek that is right there in the balcony, not having the view of the entire city and seeing all of these psychedelics going on in the sky, which actually can be quite frightening. I'm here on the second floor with the calm of the water, hearing a few sounds, and there's activity in the sky, and knowing that I'm on the second floor. If anything ever occurs, we can just walk down. And I realized that this freedom, she was free, right? Even though she was in a place when others couldn't come in and out. And there was a massive playground going on up in the sky, you know? So I realized this point about, I've said it the last two sessions, dissolving the architecture of inner bondage. I just say it not fully realizing the depth of what I'm talking about here. It was awesome. Really got me to, really allow the dissolving of this architecture of whatever remains in the context of inner bondage. Because release is not force, it is illumination. That insight that requires action is what emerged for me. And I really thought that, they're so well protected. My grandsons don't even realize there is a war because they're not going out of the house. They are, that's what I thought. And they are just excited because every time I would talk to them, they would be super excited about something or the other. And clearly, Amazon is delivering because there's lots of presents got delivered to Elio on his birthday. He could meet anybody, they were at home, but Jill had wrapping paper and wrapped them all up. So it was all super exciting. Anyhow, yesterday they have this conversation. We have a call, and he says, well, it's a very special time, Mynoo, because his best friend's father was stuck in Uganda and couldn't come back. And finally, he did manage to come back, and he came home yesterday. So he was saying, oh, Ilya is so happy, his papa is home, and it's a very special time. He says very special time, not a scary time, nothing like that. It's a very special time. So, oh, what's special about it? Well, there's a war going on, you know. Sorry, there's a war going on, and we are all here in the midst of it. And I said, okay, but Minoma, it's just a game. Um, so I said, okay, it's just a game. You're not scared? He says, no, no, Minoma, it's a game. Anybody who is, if you're a player in a game, you just have to stop playing. And people will stop playing. You will see people will stop playing. Now it'll start to get boring and people will stop playing. And then there is no game and it'll all be fine. And then in the little one perks up, you know. Well, there is only one way to make everything better. It is with love. And they all had a group hug together on Zoom. It was very, very sweet. It was like, okay, bondage, inner architecture of inner bondage doesn't exist there, you know? Inner authority is there. Like, okay, I could play the game of there's a war going on and oh my God, what's going to happen and blah, blah, blah. And by the way, I had had the whole thing completely planned out. Reached out even to my ex-brother-in-law, would you believe? You know, the one who, this is Himanshu's brother, because he lives in Oman. And he'd organized a car for me to land in Oman, drive up, pick Jill and the boys, bring them back to Oman, and fly them off to Bangkok. Everything was all orchestrated and done. And of course, when I shared it, um, Jill said, listen, we are so happy here. You know, malls are open. If we need anything, we just have to cross the road. Where they have moved to, they don't have to drive anywhere. Literally, that's where I live. You just cross the road and there's the supermarket. All the shops and all are all open and working fine. Life on the ground is fine. It's safe. This is where we are. There's, activity going on in the sky, but it's everything is fine down here. The last thing we want is for you to be driving in the open air for all these hours. That will stress everyone out. So I thought, okay, there is a fallback plan. Done. I now need to just allow things to unfold. And again, it was that restoration, returned back to my inner authority. I felt good that there was a plan. I felt good that there was someone who'd actually organized the entire drive. Even if I wasn't there, his driver could go pick Jill and the kids up. So all of that was sorted. Any nerves in the nervous system and all just relaxed. And freedom resurged as a creative power. So we started doing wax as a family, extended because my sister is also there, niece, son-in-law, their daughter is also there, and we started doing wax, visual, auditory, kinesthetic visioning, because we have a wedding coming up in April in Dubai. And that was just simply amazing. And it was this journey of implementing many of these things that we have already talked about, the 12 pillars of regenerative and eternal freedom. Elio inspired me, when he was able to talk about a war and in such a liberating way. It was pretty amazing. So we went through fear was a first pillar to regenerative freedom, which is all about transforming yourself from protector to prisoner and releasing that fear. Become what the release of that becomes, um, a release of that imagined threat. Didn't exist really. The threat didn't exist to my daughter-in-law and my grandsons. It was an imagined threat. And what gets restored is that fear actually became a piece of information, and courage is what researched. The second pillar that I worked with was guilt. The guilt of being away in a free place when my daughter-in-law feels trapped. My internet goes up and down, by the way, so I do understand if you're experiencing um, some audio issues.
Manu, we're not. We
You're not.
actually aren't experiencing audio issues as far as I can tell.
Okay, I'll keep going.
Yep.
And then there was guilt, right? The moment I looked at what we had already transmitted, guilt is releasing borrowed burdens. And my daughter-in-law is saying, just we are so happy. And she says, this is such a precious time where all I have is me and the kids. And I don't have to worry about anything else. And I'm on the second floor feeling completely safe with everything that I require right there in front of me. So what am I burdening myself for? And that was amazing. noticing that it actually, yeah, I felt responsible as a mother and grandmother, and I didn't need to punish myself for it. And what research was that clean conscience and a clear action. And this, loyalty to outdated rules, which is what guilt is, and it is a misplaced loyalty, I released it. And it was like I have released a huge emotional debt. Regret was the third pillar. I'm doing a recap, but I'm just sharing with you how the implementation of all of this has occurred literally last week. Completing the past, you know, what should have been. And it was like, oh, what should have been? Maybe we should have just gone over to Chiang Mai the moment we finish everything and then come flown in for the wedding. So we won't have all of this stress. Well, released it. Literally just released it. What got restored was compassion for where I was and also for where everyone else was. And was able to be a more of a creative solution provider for many others, who were stuck at the airport and many others. And what researched was an integration of this powerful wisdom around this pillar, these pillars of freedom. All forms of regret literally dissolved very, very fast. Self liberation occurred. It occurred, I felt that ending of that inner captivity. And I have since worked with so many people who are in different parts, whose businesses are impacted, a whole variety of them, you know, and really getting them to release that dependence on permission or validation or rescue. Hey, I talk about uncertainty is certain, unknown is the known. Take nothing for granted is a modus operandi. Change is constant. And so it is, playing out right there in front of us. Restored inner authority. A friend of mine was stuck in Madrid, her daughter in Dubai. It's huge. I mean, like really huge. And yeah, there you go. I found out that the Emirates was flying people into Dubai, those who had family that was stuck here. And she managed to get in, and she'll be landing any minute now. Because that inner authority got restored rather than feeling, oh my God, Self-led living is definitely playing out. Self-love, ending of that war within, you know, Emilio's statement, my little grandson, 4-year-old, five, turning 5 on the 10th. And he says, the answer, how to make everything better is love. You recognize that you have inherent value. Everyone has inherent value. The perpetrators as well as the sufferers. Everyone. The work that we did right at the start when it happened of spreading the ripples of global ceasefire. The ceasefire is called for everywhere in the world, not one party against another. It literally is across the world. Firing only is destroying the very ship that we are sailing in. So self-love is enables people to restore their inherent value. What research is that gentle, powerful self-alliance. Now let's go to the next pillar, the sixth pillar. Just want to check in, Sarah. Is there anything that you want to say? Uh,
The only thing I do want to say, which is a continual theme of ours, is that we have choice. We're born with choice, and we can create a situation or have a perspective of a situation. There are many different ways we can create it and view it, which comes out of what you've been sharing now.
sure. I mean, little did we realize that all of this would play out in our faces in this last week, right? I had no idea how even the release, restore, resurrect were so meaningful. and they were truly illuminating words when it comes to fear.
And we were discussing this just a week ago
Just a week
before,
ago.
just as you were preparing to fly. We had no idea
Yeah,
that this war was going to start and that Dubai was going to be in the center of it. And then all of a sudden, here it is. And yes, your transmission last week ties in really well this week
yeah,
with what the outcome has been so far.
yeah. Let's continue. So now let's look at the sixth pillar. The sixth pillar is the pillar of unconditional acceptance. It is the pillar of ending resistance. Ending resistance. What gets released when you end resistance? What gets released is you stop fighting reality. We were talking earlier on, Sarah, you and I, and one of the things you said that there was various court appearances that you had to deal with this week, and you did it because you just needed it required to be done, and whatever occurs occurs. You know, you showed up, and whatever will occur will occur. So you stop fighting reality. You just literally, this is where that next step next comes in. So how do you stop fighting reality if reality is so emotional? I mean, the first 2 days, I really didn't want to talk to anybody. I was in the safest place I could be with my friends in Pune. And, they know the kind of food I eat. Everything was very well provided for. And I didn't really want to be with anybody. So I just shared with them that, maybe I should just go away. I'm just feeling that illness is taking over, and I'm not feeling I want to fly again, because I was actually going to go and stay in Meenaji's house, your house, Meenaji, in Rishikesh. But my cough and cold really increased. I knew that there was some internal resistance that was going on, given what had occurred. Um, So I chose to come to this particular wellness resort, which is a programmatic resort. You only come here if you're booked on a program. And then you don't go out, you just stay here. And it's amazing. They do look after you completely. So here, before you can release your resistance, before you can end that resistance, before you can actually release and stop fighting reality, the precursor to unconditional acceptance is acknowledgement of reality. Now, even if it is perceived reality, your emotional response to it, your emotional reaction to it is real. That's not perceived. You are having it. Whatever is going on in your body, how you're feeling is real, right? Now, if you don't acknowledge it, whatever that is linked to or associated with cannot be released. So I was in the perfect place where, I did not need to feel obligated or obliged to the hospitality of my friends. I could choose to be in my room if I wanted to, choose to just walk on the grass and be by the lake if I wanted to, without having to talk to anyone. And I did a full blown acknowledgement because there was lots of stuff surfacing for me. So I just kept acknowledging what I was feeling, what I was experiencing, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, all of it, including physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental, all of it. I just kept acknowledging. It probably took 2.5 days of acknowledgement before I was able to actually go into unconditional acceptance of all that is. And then I was able to declare, I unconditionally accept all that is. End of resistance. What got restored? was that radical, grounded presence with what is. And what has resurged is flow, flexibility. Even my yoga moves have transformed. Deep sense of gratitude, where all I can see is so much. I'm so looked after in every way, you know? And that opening got created to start asking how much better can it get again. And there's an anchoring of peace. There's lots of planetary work also that I'm engaged in. So this whole process has also supported me with that. What you accept stops draining you. So when you unconditionally accept what is, everything that I acknowledged that I was experiencing or feeling or thinking about actually stopped draining me. Freedom expands, and it can only expand when resistance ends. Sarah, anything you wish to say or comment on, or anybody else, please share in the chat.
No, I'm fine. Let's check the chat. Um, Helene, oh no, okay. No, that was just about distortion. Nope, I'm
Okay.
good. Let's keep going.
Okay, the seventh pillar is the evolution of knowing. Evolution of knowing. This is the journey from data all the way to wisdom. Remember, you heard me talk about this, those of you who heard me many times before, that it is a journey. So, whatever I share, whatever information that comes to you, it's not information, it's just data. It's just data, 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 input, 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 input. When you process that, that's when it becomes information. It is still only in your head. When you actually start, even when you plan actions based on the information that you've had, and you're ready, prepared to take action, it becomes knowledge. When you actually take the action, you start to convert knowledge into wisdom. And when you keep taking action, implementation occurs repeatedly, it becomes an inner knowing. So let's look at how this pillar played out for me this last week. You know,
Can I ask you before you go on? Because I think there may be a confusion. I know I get a bit of confusion about what you mean about data.
data is just packets of I know we are so used to saying information, right? But there is a distinction. It's just packets of words, or occurrences. That's all it is. Doesn't mean anything. When you apply yourself to it, it actually becomes information. Missiles, missiles seen and experienced and heard overhead. Okay, that's just what occurred. It's a piece. We are at war. Dubai is being attacked. Now it becomes information, right? It's still only information. If you now start planning on that basis, you know, like okay, initially it was just that missiles have been fired. And there was, say, Burj Khalifa has been evacuated. Something's, Burj Al Arab has been, car park has been hit, right? And there's firing of missiles and drones. So it's very precise targets. All of this is data, 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 you know? And then, oh, Sharjah is safe. Oh no, Sharjah isn't. You know, a friend of mine, friend of ours, said, okay, let's go to some of the Emirates, which are not that popular. So she goes to Russell Khaimar saying, okay, this is great. We are happy. She's there with her daughters. She's actually sending us a video, live video she's sending us. And right behind her, a missile is intercepted, and there is a big, huge boat there, and the intercepted debris falls straight into the boat, and her daughter is posing in front of the boat, right? So it's like, okay, guys, Dubai is probably safer than anywhere else. Now it's becoming information, right? Because we do have these self-defense stuff in the UAE, which is quite strong. Now, for 2 days, so now it is becoming information. Then I started planning, okay, how do we get Jill out of there? Is any airport working at all? Oman is usually the peacemaker, like the Switzerland equivalent, and um, could get reliable information. I reached out to my ex-brother-in-law. It's still now the planning has occurred. So I'm taking this information and making it into knowledge. And I shared, and it turned out that he's in Pune. Would you believe the coincidence of that? That he happens to be in Pune, so I can just talk on WhatsApp, right? And then we plan it out how we're going to do it. And he just says, well, it's a long journey with the kids, and there are probably lots of people doing the same thing, so they might be stuck at the border for a long time. Um, you sure you want her to do all of this by herself? And I said, no, I'll do it. But then I need someone to take me there, a driver to take me there and bring me back. And he said, well, I know exactly who will do this for you. Now it's becoming knowledge. Then the action really was sharing it with Sai and with Jill. This is what I have planned out. I can literally get out of here. I don't have to stay on in this resort. I can get out of here. I can get a flight. This is when the flights are to Oman. And then Jill short talked about what was really going on the ground. So then I said, okay, everything that I have learned that I was able to chalk out for me and my family, there are so many others in the groups that I'm in. They could benefit from that understanding and that process. So I shared it with various people, and some of them acted on it, which is amazing that it did actually work out exactly as we had planned it out. And to me, that has got into a state of knowing that whatever occurs, there's always a solution. But you can see how distinct it is. Okay. But thank you for asking that question. We words in what I have learned in doing these online transmissions, Sarah, and everyone, there is a nuance in the words. Don't muddle them up. We muddle them up all the time. So let's continue. So what gets released when you understand that there is this cycle and you're able to differentiate between data and information? Important thing to understand. Social media, like photographs of Middle East on fire. My hello, that is just data. Only when you think Middle East is on fire is where it becomes information. All that has happened is they've compiled a set of photographs where the missile um, debris has fallen and a fire has taken place. But then you look at all of those photographs, you think, oh my God, Middle East is on fire. It wasn't. The reality on the ground, this is what Jill said, listen to us. We are on the ground and we are telling you, you know, it is literally life better than normal right now. We are alert, we have our suitcases packed, all of that is there, and yes, they are rationing petrol, so the car is still full, it's fine, but this is it. So me, Understanding, and I was sharing this with others as well. Just take whatever is happening in social media or news, it's just data. When you process it, so what is a very good transition. So what? I've got all of these pieces of data. So what? Then it starts, and your answer to so what starts to become information. And the moment you act on it, even if it is a plan, it is knowledge. When that implementation of that plan occurs, where you bring it out into your reality beyond your own, it becomes wisdom. And the more you implement, that wisdom becomes a knowing. So, what gets released is that mental overload and confusion once you understand this cycle. And is what is restored is discernment. I can absolutely see that playing out. Discernment. And what resurges is an embodied knowing. Freedom is not knowing more, it is knowing what matters and living from it. Just want to check if there is, if it's landing, because this is such a huge thing to ensure that it lands. If it is landing, then you can put in the chat, all good. And Sarah, anything you want to share or?
No, I'm all good. It's landing very clearly. Thank you. Anyone else? All good. And Nada says, anybody else? No? All good. Thank you, Mynoo. Let's continue then.
Yeah. The eighth pillar is truth, the great liberator. And just like Emilio says, that was his truth, right? To make anything better, you just need love. And the good news is, as humans, we are love. That is our innate vibration. What gets released is distortion, denial, self deception. And this is where the next methodology is so, so important. It allows you to stay in your truth. One step at a time gives you the freedom and space to allow your mind to, become a truant and run havoc. When you keep taking the next step next, if you're in that cadence of next step next, and you don't take the next step, you actually go out of balance and you can fall. So once I realized in this last week that, okay, all we have to do is to take the next step next. Yeah, these are facts. I have a plan. It's a pretty solid plan. Sai's got a handle on what will occur if you have to travel to Bangkok earlier, and doesn't have to be that way. Distortion, denial, and self-deception literally dissolves. And you start seeing cleanly. I could have used the word clearly. I'm using the word clean seeing is what gets restored. You can see clearly even with some distortion in the background. Clean is it's clean all the way. And what resurges is aligned action. I mean, really, what I'm seeing is it has brought us together as a family in a way nothing else could have. It really gets, it's got me to truly value being together with a family. It's got Jill to value her own space and time with the kids on her terms, being in that decision-making authority and understanding the added value that she gets from Sai and me, and what a strong team and unit we are. And it gets Sai to recognize that he feels lonely without us. It's weird. He's like, so many of his messages, I am the happiest I have ever been, and I feel so lonely. I mean, can you imagine? This is a week of complete mayhem, and he's saying, I feel the happiest I have ever been. We are in such, like, we are over communicating and working at the same time, you know? So, all of this thing that I've got to be immersed in work, can't really talk right now, but I'll come home and then we'll connect. No, he's talking maybe five, six, seven times a day, you know, to his wife and kids. And they've had more of him in full presence than they've ever had. For a long time, actually. They've had, Sai is very particular about his family relationships, but it's for a long time he's been very engrossed in work. So it's amazing that clean seeing. You can actually have it all, and actions are aligned. And by the way, all of this is occurring when Sai's business partner, he's a very important person, went on a weekend vacation to Bahrain. Bahrain doesn't have the defenses, so their hotel has been, missiles have been fired on their hotel multiple times. And of course, they can't get out of there at all, not by car, not by anything. They're doing everything they possibly can to be able to get out. But despite all of that playing up, and sure enough, everyone is working with acknowledgement, unconditional acceptance, being in the center of the flourishing triad that many of you have heard me talk about. Um, Aligned action is able to occur. They don't take action until clean seeing is present. Nothing binds like a lie you live inside. Nothing frees like truth that is lived gently and fully. I'm experiencing it full on. It is like, oh my God, it's so perfectly timed. It's amazing how even the delivery of this particular transmission and opening of this portal is timed in a way that I can share with you with real life experience of what's occurring. What gets restored with truth is clean seeing. Clean seeing. That is what gets restored, Ananta. Clean seeing, yes. Like just imagine like a camera has got a little bit of stuff on it and you just wipe it clean and suddenly your photographs look different. That's what occurs. Okay. So you can imagine there's a Purv saying, I'm standing at the at what is that? Standing at the reception, trying to negotiate how we can get away to get out of here. And oh my God, and boom, like it's Apurva, are you still there? Are you still there? Yes, I'm still here, but a missile just landed on the hotel. I think some of it is gone. Oh my God, this is crazy. We should never have come here. Okay, you know, let's, should have never come here. You're there. That is the truth. Okay, let's just be clear about that. Now, part of the hotel, this has happened. Really accept the truth only. Truth only exists in the now. Let's stop deceiving ourselves that you are safe in the hotel because we've just seen, witnessed what can happen. It happened on another side of the hotel. It could happen on this other side. Missiles are still going. So what is the aligned action here? Clean seeing and aligned action, you know. Okay, I mean, they have not shared everything that has been done, but they have found where they have actually taken people into certain bunkers and stuff. And then now they have their passport and their Emirates IDs. So they are figuring out how to get out from there because there is a window today for them to get out of there. Now, there are many others who are shocked, devastated, can't move. Hospitals are not particularly, they just are not equipped to deal with stuff. But clean seeing, until he gets across the finish line, I'll have another, another series of elements to share from that. The main thing is nothing binds like a lie you live inside. Nothing frees like truth. Live gently and fully. Acknowledging that I feel guilty, I feel fear, I feel regret, I feel all of that, and unconditionally accepting everything gave me the ability to be in my presence, which is the truth. The ninth pillar is choice. The point of power. Choice is the point of power. The modus operandi of being alive on this planet for any living being is choice. Most living beings are, and the best part is you're always choosing. So most living beings are just choosing, getting on with whatever it is that they're choosing. And they are always engaged in the next step next. Humans pause choosing. Even that is a choice. Allow the mind and the mental overthinking to run amok for a while. That also is a choice. But they stop taking next step next. That also is a choice. They start depleting their power because suddenly something else has power outside of them. The one thing that this week has made us realize is the power of how you respond, how you experience what is happening is in you. It's a special time, Mynoo. There's a war going on out there. Little did we know that our little kids even know what's going on, let alone they're actually formulating their own thinking around it and their own decisions and choices. The little one goes, okay, the only way to make everything better is love. Like, oh my God, this is so true. But they are choosing, they're also choosing. So what gets released is reaction and victimhood. When you're born with choice, right? We all are born with choice. That is the modus operandi. And you're always choosing, even if you choose to make no choice, even if you choose to give the choice away. One of Jill's really dear friend whose husband was stuck in Uganda. I mean, there was such chaos in her mind until she finally calmed down and, allowed things to flow. So the guy from Uganda, he went to Ethiopia thinking there might be a way from there. It was like, pause, pause. Let's not give power to, a bunch of political um, choices that are playing out in front of us. Let's not be a victim of that. Let's just stand in the now and choose from there. When you stand in the now and you release reaction, what is reaction? Reaction is reactivation of an emotional trigger. Once you release reaction, you're choosing to stand in your presence. You're not a victim of anything, and nothing can victimize you. You have the freedom, you have that flow, the vitality of taking the next step next. We're not across the finish line yet. We're getting close to the finish line. So my plan of going there, bringing her out is still alive and kicking. If I ever need to do it, I will act on it. And I will only act if Jill says, now it's time. Not if Sai says, not if I say, not if anybody else says. Jill says to me, we are so happy together. Fortunately, she says the best part is we are on the second floor. That's all I needed to have. I've got that. The mall is just 5 minutes drive away, and it is 5 minutes because there is no traffic, and we go to the mall. The kids have lots of space to run around, so I'm not worried about them using up their energy. We go to their favorite restaurants. All of that is there, you know. So it's there's no victimhood there. There's no reaction there. She says what tires her is the conversations with people who truly love and care for her, having to get them to see that Dubai is really the safest place for her to be right now. That is what exhausts her. So she says, at least you, Mynoo, you get it. You don't have those conversations with me. Fine, I got it. You know? So we are responding, re-establishing the bond. Here, the re-establishment of the bond is with ourselves, within ourselves. When we are expressing our love and concern to Jill by saying, you should do this, you should do that, we are actually alienating. We are not bonding. What gets restored is that conscious awareness, choice coming from conscious awareness, rather than I have to, I need to, I should and should not. This should not be happening. Hello, it is. So what are you going to do in the face of that? What resurges is intentional living. Freedom exists the instant you remember, I have the choice. I am the choice in my matter, and I can choose again. No need to beat myself up. I am the choice in my matter, and I can choose again. This is a big one for you, Sarah, I know. Anything you wish to say or add or converse about?
Yeah, I mean, what I find interesting that resonates is this learning process that I saw living life on Tuesday when I had to go through this trial in the apartment and I was unrepresented. I represented myself. I really didn't want to do it. And it was pretty horrible. It felt pretty horrible. But I decided, let's just do this. We're just going to do it. Whatever happens, I'll deal with. And then I came home after being there for hours, exhausted. And I had a plan to go to my hairstylist and celebrate life that way. And then somebody at this sleep spa, very luxurious experience, had champagne waiting for me and this amazing spread of hors d'oeuvres and cheese And it was just all the vibes were super, super high. And I was going to cancel it because I felt, and then I thought, no, I'm doing, I'm taking Wednesday as my spa day, nurturing my day. So I could have allowed Tuesday to just throw me off course. And I chose to go into the high vibration on Wednesday. And it was amazing. And today was amazing. Um, and I would say, I don't know if that's the first time I've ever done it, but I was conscious that I had choice and
Yeah.
that I was going to keep myself in this high vibration. And I was also participating in a course on breath that's happening this year, like pranayama, but breath,
Mm.
with about 600 people from all over the world, especially people in the middle of this war situation. And what I'm very present to now is choice. The choice is what makes the difference. And that's where the liberation is and freedom.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Really, all you have to ask is how much better can it get?
Manu, do you want to pin yourself? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we have 2 minutes left. Should we just conclude now or go for the next one? I'll do the next one. It's an
I do
important
the
one
next one.
because now is when we are across the finish line, the portal of freedom opens with number 10. The number 10 pillar is emotional sovereignty, freedom from inner hijack. Emotional sovereignty is freedom from inner hijack. And what it releases is emotional entanglement and suppression. That's what you experience, Sarah. By literally showing up on Tuesday and just doing what you were called to do, you did all the prep and everything for it. And just taking the next step next, that inner hijack was gone and you could take off, and your vibrational match was then matched with champagne and hors d'oeuvres.
And this amazing 20,000 to $450,000 beds from Sweden. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. So emotional
Oh, and I got,
entanglement.
and she sent a chauffeur to pick me up
Yeah.
at the hairstylist as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what gets released is emotional entanglement, which is where you were before. I don't want to go there. I don't want to do this. Why do I have to do this? All that stuff. Emotional entanglement is released. Suppression gone. What gets restored is emotional literacy. I'm going to write a whole book on emotional literacy. It's a whole different language. There's emotional intelligence we talk about. You can have the intelligence, but if you don't have the literacy, you're still going up and down. And what resurges is emotional leadership, where you can express your emotions. You can experience your emotions fully, and they are energizing. They don't define your identity. You can say, I feel frustrated, and you don't become frustrating. It doesn't become your identity. Freedom is mastering the current, not drowning in it. I'm going to repeat this again next week, but it was important to cover all of this. Freedom from inner hijack. You can imagine if some of our leaders allowed themselves to have the freedom from inner hijack, we would be in a very different space. Let's really spread those ripples of grace and gratitude, and peace will be the automatic foregone conclusion that will, the earth is totally ready. It's just receiving whatever um, words of grace and gratitude we can share widely. I will be guided to do another global thing to anchor everything together. I will reach out when I'm guided to reach out. Until then, I pass it to you to complete our session for today. We are still freedom. We've opened the portal today, which is awesome. And we have two more to go, which we will go through next week. Over to you, Sarah, to conclude.
Wow. Well, I it completely resonates. I've written in my agenda for the next 2 weeks, dissolving the architecture of our inner bondage. And then for this week, I became aware of a week where I am so looked after in every way, which I wouldn't have expected after Tuesday. And to me, it's amazing, but I can see it comes out or comes from our conversations in the age of brilliance and the years before. It's a whole evolutionary process where I feel, because of what we've been learning through your transmissions and sharing with us, is that I had choice on Tuesday. And I felt exhausted. I was literally exhausted. I crawled home, but I chose consciously to raise my vibration and to celebrate life with these amazing people, who treated me with dignity and gratitude and the magic of being together. And it's been astonishing.
Brilliant. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, everyone. In the Beyond Meditation group, please share your completion word
Mm.
for this. It is a very big action that we have come together to take, opening this portal of freedom for the world. Thank you. I'll
Thank you.
declare our
Thank
session.
you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.